Hi guys, my name is Sarah Ponce and I will be presenting our facilitation on behalf of my group, Angelique and Laura. And we'll be talking about temperament, emotions, and the self and how this relates to child development. Before we jump in, we wanted to define some terms just to provide clarity throughout our presentation. The first one being temperament. This can be described as characteristic or habitual inclination or mode of emotional response. So just kind of your general baseline of how you respond to things. Emotions, a complex reaction pattern involving experiential, behavioral, and physiological elements. And self, a person's essential being that distinguishes them from others, especially considered as the object of introspection or reflexive action. We included this picture of a mother and child looking in the mirror, just being that this is one of the first realizations of self-awareness. So in relation to child development, there are 9 determining traits of temperament. These 9 determining traits can be seen during early childhood and then are categorized into 4 more general temperament styles. So I'll just go through these really quick. The first one being activity level, which can be described as energy and arousal. And it's pretty obvious the kids who have that high energy and those kids who are more calm in demeanor. Biological rhythms, this is eating, sleeping, toileting routines. Just as an adult, there may be regular versus irregular patterns. So, some adults have insomnia, some babies don't sleep through the night, kind of the same thing. Sensitivity, this is the reaction to stimuli. An example of this would be a child not liking the feeling of tags or certain clothings on their skin. And intensity of reaction, so the emotional response aspect. So the child may have that sensitivity to the tag on their shirt, and then this is how they respond to it. High being could be hysterical crying, and low maybe just a proclamation of, hey, this is bugging me. Adaptability, how easy or hard it may be to adjust. And an example of this would be taking your child to childcare for the first time. Or is it easy for them? Is it hard for them? The next one, approach versus withdrawal. This is how quickly it takes to adjust. So adaptability is how hard it is, and this is how how quickly it is. Persistence, how long you're willing and able to stick to a task. Distractibility, this is kind of opposite end of the spectrum, how often a person's attention may shift. And mood, the overall tone of a person's feelings, and whether you're more positive, on the positive side of that, or more negative. So as I said, those 9 kind of determining traits as a child are separated into these 4 distinct general temperaments. We included this graph because we thought that the information was organized very clear yet effectively. And the first one being choleric, second one being sanguine, third being phlegmatic, and fourth being melancholic. Our discussion question does have to do with this, so maybe take time to pause the video and kind of see which one of the 4 basic temperaments you fit into. So temperament throughout life. Temperament is biologically stable across time and situations. So this can be seen early in a child's life and can predict later childhood temperament and even adult temperament. Certain temperament characteristics make children vulnerable to internalizing or externalizing their problems. And then Laura included this really awesome picture that kind of has it's very informative. So it first states children are born with temperaments. I find this super interesting that our genetics play a part, and we receive some of those temperament factors from our parents. Behavior and approach shaped by experiences and interactions. So it is kind of the nature versus nurture. We're born with some codes for temperament, and then our the nurturing side of our environment kind of brings those out. Which ones emerge, which ones don't. Learning about temperament helps parents be responsive, so knowing your child's temperament. And children engage with the world per inborn traits. So again, just interacting with the world based on the traits and perspectives you have. Infant temperament dimensions. So as an infant, they're described, we've all heard, everybody wants the easy baby, and then there's the hard baby on the opposite end of the spectrum. So the good news is, if we look at our graph, 40% of babies are easy. So the odds are in your favor. The easy babies adapt to new situations without issue. The slow to warm may be uneasy or cautious at first, and then as they observe the events in place, they kind of gradually warm up. And then the difficult, they are slow to adapt to new situations and sometimes will not adapt at all. Parenting and temperament. This is an important one. I think sometimes we don't realize that even though we inherit temperament traits from our parents, they can be conflicting. So temperament can be defined as a biologically based core of individual differences in style of approach. This is the reason parenting is also very important when we talk about children's temperament. So positive parenting is related to well-adjusted temperament profiles, whereas negative parenting is related to less adaptive temperament profiles. And we included this picture, which I think really speaks volume, that they can, that without words you can tell if it is negative parenting or positive parenting. So understanding a child's temperament. Just having that ability to adapt and effectively meet each child's unique need based on temperament, emotions, and self requires emotional intelligence, I think introspection on the part of the parent or caregiver, and just understanding the different temperament profiles. So now this brings us to a research article titled Child Temperament, Parent Emotions, and Perceptions of the Child's Feeding Experience. So basically, researchers predicted that parents who reported more negative emotions would perceive strategies as less effective, with issues surrounding feeding and getting their child to eat more fruits and vegetables. And hypothesis 2 stated parents' emotions would mediate the effects that the child temperament would have on parents' perception of strategies and problems encountered in attempting to get children to eat fruits and vegetables. So basically just how parental temperament and child temperament kind of can work together or work against each other. Methods. So it was a qualitative study that took 639 participants of low-income families within the Head Start program. 2 questionnaires were administered, one being the CBQ and the other being the PANAS. Children were aged 3 to 5, and this was taken by the primary caregiver or the person responsible for the child's feeding outside of school. Results. So parent positive emotions are positively related to parent feeding strategies. Parent negative emotions were negatively, but not significantly, related to parent feeding strategies and related feeding problems, indicating decreased perceived effectiveness of various feeding strategies. So basically, what this means is results from the study emphasize the importance of both parent and child characteristics in feeding and are consistent with an ecological parenting framework. So again, that temperament of both the parent and child really matters. Positive parent emotions mediated child temperament and were associated with lower levels of perceived problems in getting children to eat fruits and vegetables. And future intervention efforts should consider approaches aimed to helping parents become more aware of their own emotions, so that introspection aspect, and how they may be influenced by their child's temperament. And I think it's important to note that this study can apply to other realms of parenting, such as discipline or even potty training, and how your temperament is influenced by those day-to-day interactions. This brings us to our discussion question and temperament quiz. So our discussion question states, what temperament, sanguine, choleric, phlegmatic, or melancholic, do you most identify with? And how do you manage children who may have differing temperaments? So you can go back to that blue chart that we talked about that has the 4 general, and kind of look at that and decide what category you fit in. And if you're still having trouble with that, we provided a temperament quiz. So this concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and good luck with the discussion question.